Hello, I'm Peter Scallon from SailCork. Helicopter rescue. Well, when it all goes wrong, we're very fortunate in Ireland that we have a wonderful helicopter service operated by CHC Helicopters under contract to the Coast Guard. There are 4 bases in Ireland. On the south coast we have Waterford, which is Rescue 117. On the west coast there's Shannon, Rescue 115, and Rescue 118 in Sligo, covering the northern part of the country. And then on the east coast, Rescue 116 based in Dublin Airport. There are actually 5 helicopters, one is kept to spare. And the helicopters are Sikorsky S92s, very capable, medium duty, even though they look very big when you're underneath them. They're a medium duty helicopter, twin engined, with a substantial range and a substantial cruising speed, allowing them to get to anywhere on the Irish coast within less than an hour or so. They're under contract during the daytime from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to take off within 15 minutes of being called, and during the night time within 45 minutes of being called. In practice it's a lot faster than that, and they can often be in an area on exercise when they're called out, and they have a super response time. When the helicopter approaches your boat, you need to be ready for it, and the most common rescue technique they use is the highline, or the heaving inline technique. There are other techniques. The heaving inline technique involves you as the yachtsman or as the motorboater to prepare and to do some of the work with the helicopter, and we've made this video to show you how this works. On the SailCork training yacht Holy Grounder, we carry a set of procedure cards. We call them the cockpit cards, and they're procedures for both routine things like reefing the sails, but also, more importantly, the emergency procedures of what to do in particular circumstances. And in this case we're going to look at the helicopter highline procedure card. Step 1 with the helicopter highline is to clear the decks. Have all the open areas of the boat completely free of loose items. Remember, hats, caps, particularly plastic bags, silver blankets, etc. they are present a risk to the helicopter engine and need to be removed and secured below. Remove all equipment from around the stern rail of the boat. This is particularly important for the safety of the winchman who's going to drop into your boat on the port side rail. So remove outboard engines, dan buoys, fenders, and really have the whole area clean, nothing there to snag. You can leave the dodgers up, but everything else goes below in the cabin or into a locker. Parachute flares, mini rocket flares and drones present a particular hazard to helicopters, so they should not be used under any circumstances. You may be asked to use a smoke flare, or at night a pinpoint flare, a handheld flare, to help the helicopter either locate you or to help indicate the wind speed at sea level for the helicopter. Step 4. If your vessel is less than 12 metres, consider lengthening it artificially. Have a look. Our boat is 11 metres, 36.5 feet, and one of the issues with feedback from previous exercises is that the pilot of the helicopter can't see the bow of the boat when the boat and the helicopter are in the position for winching. And by seeing the bow of the boat, it helps the helicopter pilot position. So we're just trying this in partnership with the helicopter people, just to see by extending visually the boat by sticking out the spinnaker pole as a bowsprit, can we make the boat appear longer? Step 5 is personal safety. Make sure that the helm, the main trimmer, the crew operating the highline, and anybody in the vicinity of where the winchman will land wear helmets and safety glasses. The crew operating the highline and those assisting him or her should wear robust sailing gloves. Naturally, everyone should wear life jackets. It's extremely noisy when working under a helicopter, so do all your communications in advance, either on channel 16 or you may be directed to work on channel 67. Now is the time to switch off the radar. If you're on a yacht, sail on a port tack, reefed if necessary. Make sure the topping lift has been brought forward onto the mast so it's not flying around to snag the highline when it comes down. The reason to sail is that a yacht is more steady under sail, and the reason for the port tack is the winch door and the pilot are both on the starboard side of the helicopter and they operate from their starboard side to your port. Bring the topping lift forward onto the mast so that it's not swinging around and potentially a snag to the highline or the winchman. At this stage, the helicopter will approach you and hold in position at an altitude of about 60 meters or 200 feet off your port quarter. It'll seem like he'll stay there for ages, but what he's doing is he's assessing your speed and direction and also the risk levels for the winch crew. So don't worry if this takes time, just hold your course, hold your speed. It's important that the helmsman looks forward, not at the helicopter. The helicopter will hover just off your port quarter and lower the highline with a sandbag, it's about the size of a bag of sugar, and bring it to a level just above your yacht, and then we'll hover right over the port quarter and lower it further so the crew can catch it. You may need to have a second person holding on to the life jacket strap of your designated crew. Once it's caught, pull it in and flake it into a bucket, a fish box, or if you have an enclosed cockpit, make sure there's nothing else in the cockpit and your feet are clear and you can just flake it into the floor of the cockpit. The helmsman should maintain a steady course. The helicopter will line up on the boat. Once you've got the highline, don't secure it or don't tie it to any part of the boat, but pull it in rapidly and steadily. Ensure there's no slack between the boat and the helicopter and maintain light tension. At the other end, it's held by the winch crew's hand. It's not physically tied other than by a small breakable line. So don't pull too hard, you're pulling against a human, not against a piece of machinery. The helicopter will then hover over away from the boat a little bit. You may need to let the line in and out as the boat bucks up and down. Continue to maintain light tension on the highline. Don't wrap it around your hand or secure it to any part of the boat. The helicopter will hover just off the port quarter. Sail a steady course, maintain a listening watch on VHF and pre-arrange with your crew hand signals because verbal communication is impossible. In this case the helm indicated to the main trimmer to sheet in. The winchman leaves the helicopter and is lowered down. Maintain light tension on the highline, pull it in as he's lowered down. You're not going to be able to pull the helicopter towards you, just maintain tension. When working with a winchman, you will need more tension than you would when you're working with, say, a stretcher or a pump. You leave the line a little bit more slack with those. Once he's just above the level of the boat, the helicopter will come towards the boat and place the winchman directly over the port quarter rail. The signals the winchmen are giving here are actually to the winch operator, not to you. Sometimes the winchman will look directly at you and make a pulling gesture. That's for you to pull harder. The winchman will cross his feet over the highline. So you should just maintain enough tension on the highline to keep the soles of his feet pointed towards you without them waving around. But not so much that you're pulling the handle out of his hand. Remember, he's holding it in his hand, it's not tied physically to the helicopter. Make sure his landing area is clear, and there is a risk of his feet hitting your head. He's got the earthing line hanging from him. Don't touch that or you'll get an electric shock. Once the winchman is on board, maintain control of the highline, because the winchman is a trained paramedic and may immediately start working on an injured crew or working on the boat in some other way. So you are expected to maintain control of the highline. As always, light tension, and it's connected to the winch line by a very, very light line. If you put too much tension on, you'll break that line. You may be asked to return the highline back up to the helicopter, retaining light tension, and repeat the cycle as a stretcher or a pump or a first aid kit is brought down to the boat. So that's the helicopter highline technique. I particularly like to thank the crew of Waterford Coast Guard Helicopter Base for their cooperation over the years and for their joint exercises and for the permission to use both their video material, obviously what was taken from upstairs, and to use their helicopter in our video material.